gonna be a good video. We're gonna talk about how much fuel I use in the houseboat. A lot of people are way off on that. They are way off on that. They have no concept how much fuel I use in the houseboat. The other one we're gonna talk about is I'm on Instagram and I've written a couple songs and we're gonna debut them in this video. So the other thing is where I park during storms. I'm gonna show you me figuring out where to park and how frustrating that is a little bit for me to get the right spot and kind of think about planning in the future and stuff. So it's gonna be a really good video. It's got a lot of information. It's a little longer because I'm gonna debut 2 different songs, so it is what it is. I appreciate you watching. Put the thumbs up, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the music. Yeah, I'm curious what you think.
Into another time at another place, traveling through the world in my tiny floating house. All the colors of the sunrise fill my little place with every shade of red. The song starts to play from every little bird as the bugs chime in with their verse. The driftwood fire makes that whistle from the kettle as coffee warms the air. The river wakes with the energy of the sun. Cricket steps onto the beach, chasing all the rays. I know we are now in another time, another place, on my tiny floating house. I built it myself with the goal of adventure. All I want is to watch the world go by, watch the world go by. There's a tiny floating house on the Tennessee River, watching the seasons change. It's the simple life. I'm after sand and toes. The sun pulls me along the river's edge. I know we are now in another time, another place, where river has no fence to limit his space, where beaches call us every day in every way, sleeping under the stars in the great wide open. I know I'm in another time, another place.
It's a barge going by. Whoever doesn't like barges. So he growls. And barks. Yeah. That is what it is. So I get a lot of I get 2 kinds of comments from Instagram and YouTube. I get a lot. So I have 1.1 million views last month on Instagram, and I'm about 1 million views a month, and I'm 500 subscribers away from hitting 10,000 subscribers, and I've been on it for just a couple of months here. So one of the comments I get is things like, I wish I had your life, or I want to live on a boat like that, or I want to be you. And in my mind, I'm always like, yeah, until you wake up to a snake outside your boat, or until you have to empty your own bucket and take it to a dumpster, or when you wake up and it's 20 degrees outside and you don't have insulation and you have to run your diesel heater all the time. A lot of people watch Instagram and YouTube and they get the glorified version of things. I try to show everything, but for the most part, I mean, people, they skip through the episodes and they watch the part with the nice music and the videos and the pictures, and you end up with this view that everything's pretty, but yeah, and in reality, it's, life is tough no matter what you do. The other side of the aspect of it is people are saying, stop telling everyone how free it is and how great it is. Everyone's going to live on their boat. No, they're not. They're not. Not everyone's going to go to the bathroom in a bucket. Not everyone's going to stay out here once they see 5 venomous snakes in one day. They're just not. It's simple. It's not perfect. It's my dream. It's not everybody's dream. But the fact that I live between Memphis and Nashville means if anyone's going to write a song about that, I'm going to. So that's what this song is about. How people always talk about they want to be the person on YouTube, they want to be the person on Instagram, but they don't really want to be that person. That's not the case.
I have a Winston cigarette burning to my seat. A full tank of gas is something I never see. The guy in my side view looks nothing like me. Still a few 100 miles will feel good right now. All I'm doing is trying to stay free. What's crazy is people still don't wanna be me. Yeah, they don't wanna be me. I had my time drinking whiskey and gin. I used to burn my smoke right to the end. Now I pack one just to stay sane. I'm missing you, this time was to blame. The past is a page torn out, burned and lost. I'm never going back because of the cost. All I am doing is trying to stay free. What's crazy is people still wanna be me. Yeah, they still wanna be me. Burning leaves, and autumn always brings it back. The thought of those days is a lingering breath, a smell that is a taste of the past. I count the ley lines to stop from thinking. 70 miles an hour, it makes me want to start drinking. I don't mess up or drop out and don't have a buck. All I am doing is trying to stay free. What's crazy is people still wanna be me. Yeah, they don't wanna be me. All I am doing is trying to stay free. What's crazy is people still wanna be me. Yeah, they don't wanna be me. Burning leaves, and autumn always brings it back. The thought of those days is a lingering breath, a smell that is a taste of the past. I count the lane lines to stop from thinking. 70 miles an hour makes me want to start drinking. I don't mess up or drop out, don't have a buck. All I am doing is trying to stay free. What's crazy is people still want to be me. Yeah, they don't want to be me.
You know, a lot of people are like, there's a couple of things couple of comments that I'm gonna push back on. Number one, a lot of people, there's a hole right there where I thought snakes would live. If he goes in there, that'd be kind of cool. People say, well, you shouldn't tell people about this. Everyone's gonna buy a houseboat and go and live in the wilderness. No, they're not. Everyone is brainwashed to go to work every single day and buy as much crap as they can and then they get themselves into 5-year and 10-year and 30-year payments where they don't have a choice about what they're going to do in the future. There are very few people who have everything paid off and kind of do whatever the hell they want to do and then work when they need money. And that's the kind of lifestyle this is. And then, let's say you're that type of person, right? You still have to be okay with sharing your backyard with that right there. You still have to be okay with the risk of being bitten by a snake. You know? So, on top of being the 1% of people that don't get stuck with, like, I don't know, possession after possession after possession and payment after payment after payment, you still have to be able to come out here and be okay with that fact that that's this whole morning, that thing has been riding around my boat, not letting my dog go out, you know? And then a lot of people would say, well, I would just shoot it. But I'm in a nature reserve. And the reason why I can hang out here and be here is because it's not private property. You know? So you can't just shoot snakes. You can't shoot shit out here. You just can't do it. You know? Let me rephrase that. There are hunting seasons where you can come out here and pretty much shoot a lot of the things at a certain time of the year. But I'm pretty sure you can't shoot a snake unless it's actually like on your boat or something. You can actually see the boat trail still. Someone just came through here full speed. So this river, this creek right here is less than 100 feet wide. My boat, man, it's almost 60 feet wide, okay? And my boat is 8.5 feet wide, so it's taking up a sixth of it. Guy comes in here, you can tell that he sees me when he turns the ridge right there, because he kind of hesitates and slows his motor down. Then he decides to floor it and goes by flooring it. Now, there's a couple factors here. Number one, I'm in a state where it's not illegal to go no wake next to another boat. Most states, if you're within 100 feet, you're getting a $400 ticket because they don't want boats to collide at full speed, so they make you all go slow when you're next to each other. Not in Tennessee. The other rule that's in a lot of states is if your boat's more than 20 tons, you have to be 600 feet before you can make a wake. That's not the truth. That's not the case in Tennessee either. So we're talking about moral issue, not legal issue here. Would you come through here full speed when there's somebody's house is on the side of the river right here? Or would you go through slow? Now, a couple of factors. One, it starts to be 3 feet deep over there, and maybe he doesn't have a kind of boat that could get back up on plane before he made that turn. And a lot of people believe that your boat makes less waves when it's going full speed than when it's going slow. I don't know. When it's going no wake, it's making the least amount of waves. So let me know what you think. That's how much rain we got. And I'll be honest with you, I used to pump it out at the houseboat. I've even talked about putting a 12-volt plug on the side of the houseboat just to plug the pump into. But maybe 2 weeks ago, I left from a spot way into that island over there on a creek, and my plug fell out of my boat, and by the time I got here, the boat was completely full of water. And the boat, it handled fine. It didn't matter. There was water up to the seat. No. Up to the back part where it was coming in the back. And the boat still drove at 5 miles an hour with no problem. The motor wasn't in the water. Nothing was going wrong with the boat. So I realized I can drive it to the beach and just pull it up on the beach and pull the plug. It doesn't care. I see a lot of people making huge mistakes with their dinghies when they're beach like this. This happens anytime the water goes down, or anytime you need to work on the dinghy and you pull it out, or if you're just going to leave the dinghy during a storm. A lot of people just pull it completely onto shore. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is to walk up onto the dinghy and try to push it backwards. The back of the dinghy has an inverted flat back that actually grabs on to the dirt. So if you're ever seeing a person who's beached, even if it's an accidental beaching where the boat got out of control and it drove 10 feet onto the sand, your best bet is to grab it from the front, turn it sideways, See how easy this is here? And pull it off forwards. And then if you get to the point where you can't move the motor, if let's say I can carry that motor, but let's say it's a bigger motor and a bigger boat. You get the front floating, you put a bunch of weight in the front, and that lifts the motor off of the sand in the back. Like you move the gas tank, you put your butt on the front of it, and it'll come off of the shore. But never should you try to push it backwards, unless it's floating in the back of the boat. Okay, he's in a good mood today. So I'm parked on the side over here on this island, side tide. And then the reason I'm here is because this is my favorite place for River and I to play fetch. In the winter, all the water is gone and this is a grass field. In the summer, this is completely underwater and I can park the boat right there. So right now we're transitioning, but we got grass on the edge of it, so it looks like a nice little perfect area to play fetch. And the deer eat all this grass every morning. And then the birds, there's fish stuck in here, so the birds come and eat out of here. It's beautiful. That's why you don't sleep in the bed. Right there. But you just did. Just so you know. You got problems, you muddy dog. Look at that. Why you don't sleep when you touch bottom? So the rain last night did not lift it up enough for me to get in here. It's a shame. I kind of wanted to hide from the storms in here. But maybe by tomorrow it'll be high enough. We'll see. I'm gonna go buy gas for the generator and for this boat. One thing I don't talk about enough that I get a lot of comments about and a lot of questions about is the gas in the houseboat. So I haven't put gas in the houseboat since January, and there's about 3 gallons of gas there in January. I move the houseboat a little more than a mile every couple of weeks, and sometimes not even a mile. So when you think about it, I only drive about 24 to 26 miles a year in the houseboat. So the gas is irrelevant. The way that it drives, irrelevant. Everything about that boat moving is irrelevant because the amount of time that I spend moving in that boat is less than 0.1% of my life. So when people say, well, you should get a bigger horsepower motor, or if you, I don't know, if it was wider it would stand better, all this stuff, whatever you say, none of that is relevant. And when we jump over to the sailboat, it's the same thing. Whether it sails well, or whether it heels over well, or whether it has a high top speed, not relevant. When you live on a boat, less than 1% of your time is spent actually driving the boat. So all of your factors should include the fact that anything you do for driving the boat's only going to be 1% of your life, so you shouldn't waste any time, money, or effort on it at all, other than to be safe, right? You don't want a boat that tips over because the house is too big, you know. But at the same time, if you only can go 5 miles an hour because your house is too big, so be it. That's it. That's all you need to do is go 5 miles an hour, and you're only going to do that once every 2 weeks for an hour. So we have a dilemma, which is bothering me. I don't have many decisions that I have to make, but dealing with the weather when it's going to get severe is one of them. So when I started out the morning, I thought to myself, alright, we're going to tie up and just put a couple more ropes out because there's going to be 4 or 5 days of storms coming. And this is a good spot. I'm going to be inside, so I'm going to watch a lot of Netflix. I have good internet reception. I'm not that far from the marina, and I can still see the river to see if anything's really going on and which way the waves are going and such. But I looked at the weather, and it's 20-mile-an-hour wind coming from where I'm looking right now. So, river, get back in the boat. We're gonna go. Get in the boat. So in reality, I should be all the way across the river on the other side over there, which has no internet. So we're gonna go check it out. We stayed here 3 weeks ago, and that might be the spot to go to. Yeah, that might be the spot. Here's the problem over here is all the water dropped so much that I can't even go in there. We stayed in there for countless weeks all summer. Can't even get the boat in there anymore. It's too shallow. So I'm gonna try to go back in here and basically just see if the water's too shallow to get into way back in the creek right up here on the right. Get in the boat. You can't get in here anymore. Oh, he's barking at the deer. Alright, so this lake, this creek in here has become beach all the way around it. You used to only be able to park your boat in 2 spots because the forest is so thick, but now you could just pull up on any shore, except that it might be too shallow for you to even get anywhere near the shore. Like if you pull up and then you're 20 feet from shore and you're beaching already, that's not a good thing. So this was the route that I took. I'm gonna jump back to the other lens. This was the route that I took to keep my boat right over here in the woods when it was flooded water. And I don't know, I might actually show a scene from that. But when you look at this lake when it's flooded, none of these poles show. So the water was 5 feet higher. And you could just drive here. It didn't matter where you went. You didn't have to worry about finding the channel or anything like that. So, well, I mean, it's exactly what I thought it would be. This area right in here has no wind hitting it. The water's calm. You can actually just see the calm spot right over there. That's actually one of the best ways to see where to park. That or wherever the pollen is on the water and it's not moving, or anything that's sitting on the water is just like leaves or whatever. If it's just sitting there and not being blown in the wind, you know that that's a calm spot. This is what I was worried. See these gusts coming through here? I was worried that might be... You get like a whirlwind effect sometimes, where even though you're on the opposite side where the wind is, you're on the leeward side of the island or whatever, the wind curls around and it's worse for you. Maybe you lose a little bit of speed, but because it's coming from all different directions, it ends up being harder to tie your boat down. But it happens sometimes. I don't know, it looks pretty calm in here, right? Right there looks like a pretty good spot. Let's see. This actually looks really good. I definitely don't have any internet signal here though. But it's a deep approach where, you know, whether the water goes up or down, the boat's not going to get hung up in here. And there's deer everywhere around this lake. Look at this. This is like the 6th deer that we've seen. They like the green grass that's growing on the new beach. When the water goes down, they love it. Alright, my biggest worry about this spot is that I'm already getting wind coming from the opposite direction from where the river is actually, where the wind is, the main wind is coming from, which means it's gonna whip around in here, something weird, something fierce. So I'm gonna go check out the island again. We might move to that island. It's kind of frustrating me because everywhere I go, the wind is hitting different than what the forecast is saying, and I don't know if maybe I just stay where I'm at and move if I need to. I always hate doing that when it's really windy and then fighting the storm, but I'm not seeing a lot of safe places. It pretty much seems like I just have to face into the wind and tie it down. Like even in here, a little bit ago there was no wind, but look, now that I'm coming in here, everything's kicking around. I've decided I'm gonna go out in the middle of the river and just see which way the wind's coming from and then make my decision based on that. Because everywhere I go, it's kind of like coming from a different direction. It's just whipping around in the trees. And I know once it starts raining and storming, it's gonna be storming for several days. So in a perfect world, I'd be in a good spot. I think, to be honest, the spot that I'm in, I'm tied with my nose going into the wind. I have a lot of big trees and a lot of beach where I can let him out even when it's raining. And I have internet. But then I get out here in the middle of the river, and there's no wind. That doesn't help. So I've decided to stay. We are pointing into the wind. We got a lot of things to tie off on. I mean, I could do 8 ropes if I needed to. I could put a rope across the actual creek and tie off away from land if I need to. Yeah. So there's just these. The flood watch doesn't really affect me because I'm not in an area that has huge current. Like if I was in the Duck River, I would be worried about a flood watch where I would want to know which way it's coming from and stuff like that. But when I'm in like lazy little creeks and backwater areas, none of that matters. It really is one of the major questions that people ask me: what do you do when it floods? What do you do when the water goes up? I get to go in places that I normally couldn't go into. I like when it flows. And as long as you're not in an area where there's high currents because of the floods, houses are great. Floating houses are great. They just go up and down with the water level, and you just get a different view. So hopefully I mean, if we really do get 8 inches over 3 days, this water is going to be right back up to summer cooling within a week. That's going to be like a 3 or 4 foot increase in water level. We'll see. Yeah. And now, look, so I'm halfway across the river, and now it feels like the wind is coming a little bit more from the south and bouncing around us. Yeah, I can't even tell you how annoying this day is right now because of the wind. I'm flustered. Alright, so we got 3 very tight lines. One holding us forward, one holding the front to the shore, one holding the back to the shore. I am debating about pulling my dinghy up on the beach so I can just pull the drain plug and let it... I'm pretty sure we just hit something underwater right there. And let it drain while it rains. But another part of me is like, what if we need to go in an emergency right away? Yeah. A lot of things are going through my head right now. And it's probably just going to be a calm little raining storm and I should just calm down. I have never seen so many lightning bolts in a forecast. For so many days in a row. I just know it's going to be 3 days of rain. And now that I'm in here, it's pretty windy. After I make the decision to stay here, it's windy in here. Alright, well this is real life. I mean, I don't really ever have anything to think about and worry about, and every once in a while something like this happens where I just have to think a little bit for an hour or two about where the best place for us to be. The other thing is, this is a good, if something really bad happens, I can just get off and I'm on a big island where I'm safe. Not like a little island in the middle of the river and I have to have someone come get me or something. I've done a couple videos on these. I want to show you something. Now, a lot of people will wonder, well, why don't you scrape them away or get rid of them? I do. But I wait until the young are born and go away. So this is one that I scraped away yesterday. Now I gotta spray it with the hose, get it wet, let it sit for a minute, and then spray it again, and that'll all go away. I mean, it's mud. It's structural, but it's mud. So why haven't I done it to this one? Okay, this is an interesting thing. There are no bees in here. A lot of people think there's a bee that stays here. These bees build this hive and then they close it off. You see how it's closed, right? And what they do is there's an area in here where they sting where they put a baby, basically, is right here. And then there's an area right here where they sting a bunch of spiders, paralyze them, put them in there, and when the baby becomes born, it eats the spiders. And then once it transitions from a little worm into a bee, it eats its way out of the hive and leaves that little hole. So these three have already, the babies have left. These 2 are brand new and the bee's been working on them the last couple of days when it's not wind and rain. These 3, 4, 5, let me see real quick, have babies in them, but they haven't come out yet. Now they can actually overwinter, hibernate and stay over winter in there. Yeah. So if you ever come across these hives, number one, there's no bees in there. There's no big black wasp that's going to come out and attack you and defend this hive. They build them and they leave them. They don't live in here. And they just put a little baby in there and they put food in there and then they're gone. They try to put it somewhere where it doesn't get rain and they try to put it somewhere where it doesn't get direct sun, but you know, Mother Nature is not perfect. So once I see these little holes on here, here, on that, then I can actually go and scrape it away and the babies have done their thing. Yeah. So these bees eat pollen when they're adults, but when they're babies, they eat spiders. And when they're adults, they sting the spiders, bring them here and shove them in the hole. It's pretty cool. This part's mainly for people who, I have a bunch of people who follow me who also have small houseboating or sailing channels. and they ask me questions about, they actually email me and they'll say, well, how come you don't get a copyright strike, or how are you able to play this music? There's a couple different ways that I play music. Number one, you can play a copyright song on any video of yours, and what will happen is a couple different things. One, you can't make money on it. It's not a strike. The only way you get a strike is if you argue that it's your song, or you argue you have a copyright access to it, and you go to the second level where they actually review it, and then someone has to prove that you don't have it, then you get a strike, okay? So if I play a video that has copyrighted music, I could just not get money for that video. You know, there's a lot of videos on my channel that you watch it 100 times and I'm not going to make a dime, because the person whose copyrighted material I'm using is making the money, right? And there's a lot of YouTube people who, that's their whole channel. Like, they don't make money off of their channel. They have a job, or they have money, and they don't need income from YouTube. That is why you see people who have copyright music. The other version is a lockout, where, for instance, when I use Bob Dylan, you can't play Bob Dylan anywhere in Russia. So out of all the people who are subscribed to me, they won't get that notice in Russia, and they can't download the video in Russia because I use Bob Dylan, for instance. The other part of it is you can buy licensing, which is what I've been doing in the last year and a half. Is I will find a song that I want, I will go into my YouTube library, and I will find a version of it that I can afford. And a lot of times that's a cover, and you guys will see the person wants to become famous for their singing ability, so they don't charge you to use the song, but they pay the original copyright themselves to use it, right? So you'll see a lot of my songs are covers. That's how I get around copyright. It's free to use. I'm going in the library, I'm finding out that the song is free to use prior to actually editing it into my video. The third one is that I buy the song. So I can go in, and some of the versions of songs, for instance, if it's a live concert, or if it's a acoustic version that doesn't have the entire band playing, for like Cover Me a couple videos ago, that's free because it's only the one artist with the guitar, and the whole band's not there. So he's not making any money off of that song. I'm not making any money off of that song. It's just out in the world to be used, right? The next version is you buy it per use. So if 1,000 people watch my video, I pay 10 cents per person. It adds up, right? The last one is called revenue sharing, and that's what I do with a lot of videos, where some of my videos that have, 85,000 views or 300,000 views, there's an artist, a popular artist, and I'm using that song to get views, and I'm trading off up to 55% of my income to use that song. That's revenue sharing, right? And all of this I'm doing ahead of time, and I know how much money I'm going to make off of the video prior to actually even posting it, right? Because I'm going into the YouTube library and I'm using YouTube Music, and I pay a monthly fee for that whole process, as well as I use UCut editing. So my editor software ties into all of this. The last one is the songs that you see people using on YouTube, where the song's just like crap. It's basically all engineered by computer automated, and you almost want to fast forward it through it because it's an annoying song. It's basically just rhythm and ding 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 ding, those kind of things. It comes free with your editing software, and you can go through and it'll come with 500 songs, and maybe 2 of them are decent, and you just reuse those same 2, is what a lot of people do on their YouTube channels. And that's when you get like almost folk music or twangy music, where you would never take the time to listen to it, except you're interested in the YouTube video and it's in the background, right? Those are free for the most part. You normally don't get hit with a copyright unless something sneaks in or you hear it in the background or whatever. And then the last one is you write the music. If you're the one writing the music, I have certificates where I publish that music and I send it to YouTube with an email saying, this is my song, I created it on this date, this is the title of it, this is how long it is, these are the instruments that are in it, and this is the lyric. And you actually send that information, and then anyone who uses any of that stuff is now paying me if they use that song on YouTube. This video has that type of music in it. The only 2 songs that are in here were created by me. I have the licensing. YouTube is not charging me to use it, but if anyone uses my music, I'm going to get 55% of their royalties. Once I get to 6 or 7 songs, which I have a few already recorded, I'm working on them now, I will publish onto YouTube Library and Apple Play, and we'll see if people like them. They can, you know, download them and have them, and then they can use them on their videos by paying me a revenue sharing. Not everyone needed to know that. A lot of people who are on YouTube will probably take advantage of that process, but my goal isn't, none of my goal is for me to be the only one doing it. My goal is for everyone to be happy and to use the resources that I come across and to teach them. The worst thing that I see is people who have good content using crappy music where you almost turn the video off because they're using this ding dang dong dong ding ding dang dang, and it's just horrible computer music, right? The other one is there are people who don't do any artistic, they don't add any artistic value to their videos, so it's almost a timeline. I started my motor in the morning, I drove 15 miles, I got off, this is the town I'm at, look at the sign here, I'm gonna make this food, I'm gonna go to bed, bye. That to me is, I don't know why anyone watches that, but people do. People for some reason like to have it on in the background or what have you, or just want to see how that boat traveled through the water. But those type of videos are the ones using their editing music, where it's just the computer, a computer made the song. That's all there is to it. No one wrote a lyric, no one ever even played a guitar or hit a drum, and those are free. That's free to use, and that's why it's on 90% of the videos out there. So this has been a lot of information. Really long video, I apologize for that. I'll try to make them shorter, but again, you know, 10 minutes of the video was me debuting 2 of my songs. I really appreciate you guys watching. This has been another time, another place. You can put your thumbs up, you can subscribe. I'll be honest with you, I get paid per views, so the fact that you watched it is really all you have to do for me. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you.